Hello and welcome to Super Lady Hero Hour here on Fanversation. I am your co-host Yael Teagle, as always, joined by the incredible Lady KB. Hello, KB.
Hello, my fantabulous co-host Yael. How are you?
Doing fantabulous. So excited to be here. Sadly, Batwoman is off this week, but Black Lightning is back. And of course, WandaVision's still going strong. So we will be jumping into those today. But first, we have news. Yes. So we will be talking a little bit about some headlines. If you missed it, a couple trailers came out. I'm going to blame the big sport thing. A couple trailers for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is another Marvel property on Disney Plus. This is the first trailer for that. Big deal. Everyone's super excited. How are you feeling about it, KB?
I enjoyed the trailer. I have not been on the fence on the show because I'm obviously going to watch it, and not just for Super Lady Hero Hour. I mean, like, of course I am for it, but I was always planning to watch it just because, I kind of want to see how Phase 4 plays out. But it still wasn't super high on all of my lists in terms of watch. Like it might have been like third or fourth. But I think the trailer does a really good job of getting you hyped for it. And there's some things that I see in the trailer that really excite me. It's funny because when the trailer dropped, everyone was like, oh, I can't wait to see this over Loki. And I was like, now, wait a minute. Still really excited about Loki. Guys, we can have multiple things. And I'm also excited about this. So I love the idea of them being in couples therapy. I think that is actually a very smart move because Sam and Bucky don't necessarily communicate the best, as we've seen in all of these films. And they need a neutral third party to assist them. So yes, I think that makes total sense. And it also will be fun because I think it'll play on their personal dynamic and playful relationship and bring that kind of on screen as well. What are you thinking about the trailer?
You hit the nail on the head. I was not super stoked. I was like, all right, I mean, I guess I'll watch it. The fact that it's only 6 episodes, I think that is like a selling point for me. I'm sorry to all of the fans out there. I'm not a huge Bucky. He's not my man. So I was not super stoked about this. The couples therapy thing really does feel like the most fun thing about it. It looks like a buddy cop meets fugitive style lawmen property. So, I'm not so excited. The trailer did give me some excitement. I think the return of is it Sharon?
Yes. It is the return of the great niece. Is it great niece?
Something like that. Sharon Carter. I was excited about. That was the moment in the trailer that I went, oh, cool. I know who that is. Let's see where that goes. That's essentially the excitement that I have for it. If you have not seen the trailer yet, there is a link below, so you can go check that out over on Fanversation. But, 6 episodes seems like something I can do. I don't know that I want to watch week to week. I kind of feel like I want to wait till the end and just binge it. But 100% more excited for Loki. 100%. And he's not my man either.
Oh, well, Loki is my guy. I think he is one of the kind of best villains in the MCU. And so, that's what thrills me most. But it's curious because I don't think that they've actually said, they haven't confirmed, like with WandaVision, they didn't confirm until literally the last minute that it would be weekly after they determined, kind of how many would drop on that first day. So they haven't actually said whether or not this one will be binge worthy or weekly. Clearly, if it's weekly, we're going to watch so that we can give you guys some commentary on it. But I don't know. I'm kind of torn. Like everyone I know is like, oh, I love this Disney Plus Marvel weekly drop. And quite frankly, I don't. And I'm just so used to binge culture. And I get it. Like even Netflix has some weekly shows and some binge shows. But I just would prefer to just have it and then we can move forward. But I think in the grand scheme of things, they likely will drop it weekly because essentially they're kind of coming for Netflix's neck in the sense that like they're going to have consistent content that's rolling out through the entire year. And this would make sense in order to kind of stretch that and be like, nope, we still have new stuff coming and getting you excited for more things in the MCU. So I think it'll probably be weekly, but
yeah, I totally agree. I think it'll probably be weekly. I am not a patient person, as anyone who's met me knows. And WandaVision being weekly is killing me. Like it hurts me. So this
I
one
actually need to mute it on Twitter because what I also realize is that people are staying up until like 3 a.m. Eastern to watch it.
Yeah.
And I am not by any means doing that. And so by the time I wake up and I check Twitter, there's so many things and spoilers have been revealed. So like I knew this episode because I had gotten on Twitter and I saw one thing and I was like, I actually need to mute it. It was like a reminder, like I need to mute because people are staying up to watch it and I will not be doing that. And so I just tend to watch at leisure whenever I can. But yeah, like, no.
Right. And I think that Falcon and Winter Soldier is not something that I say this now and I will be so happy to be wrong, but at this point do not seem to, I feel like I will drop off after a certain number. I'll be like, I don't want to keep watching, but
No.
We'll see. We will see. Maybe I am so wrong and I would love that. But speaking of another team up that is happening over on the CW, another trailer has dropped for Superman and Lois. I was very hesitant about this show, and I'm very excited about this show. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. As the CW verse keeps expanding, I'm like, guys, where are we going with this? Like, what's the ultimate goal? You know, kind of where will this end? And as you know, everyone knows the CW announced early renewals for like the majority of their shows. They even actually expanded the season order of Superman and Lois to, I believe it's 18 now. And so, you know, I'm just like, guys, where's this headed? Especially because I'm still sad about Black Lightning. I will eventually get over it, but I'm still sad right now. And, you know, The Flash isn't even back yet and Supergirl is ending. And so I'm like, what? Can I take on another superhero show in the CW verse? And turns out I can, because this trailer is really good and, you know, it's intriguing. And I am still curious how this is going to work in conjunction with the other shows, especially when it comes down to these crossovers, because there's a significant clear time jump that has occurred in Superman and Lois. I mean, we see in the trailer their sons are teenagers, whereas what we know already from the CW verse, like they had a baby and like an infant. So I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen? And also they had one infant. So, you know, like it's also very interesting because apparently they had two. So I'm just curious to kind of see what this is gonna look like. But so far, it looks, I can't tell what it's a mix of. It's very heavy on the family drama side, which we don't typically see, you know, kind of in these CW super shows. And I will say The Flash has a lot of like familial drama, but it's still in a very lighthearted way. This almost feels a bit darker, sort of. I don't know. I can't really describe it. The tone is just a little bit different and something new. So, you know, maybe they're planning on expanding this to other kind of new superhero shows that come this way. But
yeah, that's really interesting you point that out. It feels to me like it's going to be a little more like Black Lightning in that it's a parent with powers. And like, what does that mean for the children of a parent with powers? The question then I have is, why launch it if you currently have a show with the same idea and that you're ending? I think that's an interesting choice to make. Yeah, that said, I'm a huge Bitsy Tillich fan and cannot wait for her Lois. We've only gotten bits of her, bits of Bitsy, and I am so excited for more. Yeah, any other thoughts on Superman and Lois?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I was a huge Grimm fan. I still feel like we could have had just one more season of Grimm to round it out, and I would have been perfectly happy with that. But so, I am excited to kind of see what she does in this role. And yeah, I also am going to point out, because I think that this is impressive. Bitsy is quite a few years older than his name is escaping me right now. Tyler, yes, who is playing Superman. And I actually love that she, as an actress, gets the opportunity to play this role, because it always happens in the reverse. There's always an older man with a younger woman on screen. But I appreciate their dynamic, and I like that she has this opportunity at this point in her career to still be able to do this, and age is not a factor. And I'm like, good for you. So yes, I want to point that out because I enjoy it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It's weird because I still feel like the tone of this is still different from Black Lightning, even though the premise is very similar. It just, I don't know. I can't really describe it. Black Lightning is also dark and also heavy and also a family drama. But I don't know. Maybe it's the way that they're shot, just based on that trailer, like the shooting style. I don't know. But
yeah, that's a really good point. I think I saw some tweeting about how it was shot by, some company dealing with HBO Max. Like there was more money given to it. There was something about expensive equipment. Okay.
Because I forgot briefly until right now that you just said it, that's a part of the deal too. And so they will be housed. I'm almost positive they will be housed on HBO Max, once the season ends. Like people can watch there too. So maybe that's why they have a little bit of a darker, I don't know,
Maybe. Also happening on the CW, we got a lot of CW news. We recently, I believe in season 1 of Super Lady Hero Hour, talked about a potential show called Naomi, which is based off a DC comic that Ava DuVernay is doing over at the CW. That has been picked up straight to series. So has a Powerpuff Girls live action series. Thoughts on this, KB?
I mean, not too many thoughts, because we did touch on it a lot in season 1, but Naomi, super stoked about. I'm very curious to see what this partnership between Ava and the CW looks like. This is going to be intriguing for sure. And in regards to the Powerpuff Girls, like I said in season 1, not too excited about it, only because I'm like, what? Because it feels more like it's going to be like Riverdale with powers. And I'm like, I don't understand what that means. And part of the appeal of the Powerpuff Girls, at least in the animated form for me, is just how carefree they get to be. And this feels like darker because it's like centered around murder and things like that. And I'm just like, but I actually enjoy a lighthearted Powerpuff Girls. Mm-hmm. Like it just, and even if you were going to make it live action, could we still have like, but this is like Riverdale meets Gossip Girl with powers-ish. So
yeah, those are really great points, because if it was Riverdale meets Legends of Tomorrow, I'd be so sold, right? Like Riverdale has a beautiful aesthetic to it. The visuals is incredible. So to take that and the mystery, but give it the goofiness and self-awareness of Legends of Tomorrow, that would be a fantastic show. The idea of doing a Riverdale style Powerpuff Girls sounds very much like Chilling Adventures. And as fun as that was, we don't need another dark drama, or wild and weird the way that Riverdale like kind of lost their story mind. They really just started, as my roommate says, making word soup and just like put whatever they could think of into it. So if they could tone that down, make it beautiful, but keep it light and silly, I think that would be the best mesh.
I mean, listen, you don't think that we need another drama, but clearly the CW does. And so they are like, we are all in. Please give us more to this Powerpuff idea. So I'm curious. I mean, that is, it's very rare that I read pilots. I should more. But generally speaking, I don't really like pilots. And I always just get through them and then, kind of get to the next episode because I'm looking forward to it. But I am curious what sold the network like in this pilot. Like I want to read this pilot because I'm so curious to see kind of where it goes.
Those fair questions. Very fair questions. Those are the headlines for today.
Yes. Well, headlines are done. Let's dive straight into WandaVision. And, this is episode 5. So here's the quick cap for the episode. On a very special episode, Wanda addresses Vision's worries when he grows suspicious of the neighbor's strange behavior. What an episode. I will say this is, and, I've said this for the past 2 weeks, but this episode thus far is my favorite. But I mean, again, thus far, who knows by the end of all 9 where I'll land. But this was a really, really good episode. I mean, we got, some twin stuff. We got some tension and some friction between Vision and Wanda, which we have been building up to because Wanda is lying to him, and keeping things from him. And he's upset about that. We got a special reveal at the end, which we'll get to. But I just think, it was a really good episode in the sense that we got to learn more about what's going on in this current world. And something that happened unexpectedly in this episode for me was we actually got to see Wanda outside of it. And, when she comes to the real world and she breaches in and she's like, y'all better leave me alone. I thought that was fantastic. I thought it was shot really well. Actually adore night shoots on shows. And so I am like, yes, this looks stunning. She's going head to head with Monica. Of course, our favorite trio has, a bit of camaraderie this episode as well. So I loved it. So overall, how are you feeling about, on a very special episode?
I loved it. As you know, I am impatient and I love answers. So last episode and this episode, hands down my favorites. The more information we get, the better. I also love how much, now that we understand the timeline that we're on in the story, so much progress has happened in the real world, which is very exciting as they keep learning new things and moving forward. So that while we still are in this unique world, we're still figuring things out. I love that. I will say I'm not a big fan of animals dying. I really am not, especially not adorable dogs. I really don't like that. So that bothered me. But the everything else and the theories that have come out of that are very interesting. The internet is full of wild theories. And I loved this episode. And I cannot wait for more answers. I feel like it's just answers from here on out, which is fantastic.
I'm going to say it's just an answer from here on out. I feel like they only give you one and then it's like, but here's 39 more questions that you want to know the answer to, but you may or may not get them in the upcoming weeks. But yes, for those of us who know a little history about the comics, we know that Sparky is a comic book character for a lot of reasons. Mm-hmm. So some of those theories that are online may be hinged around, reading the comics and knowing that, he does not necessarily stay dead in some iterations. So we'll see how they, do or do not use that. I mean, I will say, we are using kind of the no body rules, and technically, we're supposed to believe that Vision buried him in the backyard. However, we did not see that occur. So I just can't confirm or deny that, he's actually dead. We did not see what Vision did. To be honest, he just came in and made a reference to it. Mm-hmm. So that leaves the possibility of some things there. But I will say, the biggest kind of what's happening here started off when there is mention of Carol Danvers to Monica Rambeau. And Monica's face said it all, like, please don't bring this name up ever again. I don't care. So I am curious because, a lot of time has passed since we have last seen Carol. in our minds. And since Carol's seen Monica as well, because Monica comes back, realizes her mom died, hadn't necessarily grown up with her mother. I mean, she spent a lot of time with her grandmother because her mom was often spaced with Carol. And, she already has a lot of regret around just, her mother dying and which, girl, you cannot control the blip. So like, you cannot control the fact that you ghosted away, right? Like nobody can control that, but still, guilt and grief are what they are. And so she still has a lot of, guilt that she's working through about that and the grief. But that face she made about Carol, I was like, child, Carol better go somewhere, because if she shows up, I don't think it's going to end well. I think Monica's going to have it out for her.
I now very much I cannot wait for that confrontation, whenever that may be. I cannot wait.
I'm like, is it going to be on this show? Is it going to be in Captain Marvel 2? Is it going to be somewhere in between as a post-credit scene for something here or another? I don't know.
Great questions. All great questions.
That we do not have the answers to, because Marvel, per usual. Yes. Now, something else that happens in this episode, the twins age by 10 years. Which
I'm so grateful, genuinely. The more we age them, the better it is. I cannot wait to see them in what I'm going to call like final form, which is going to be whatever the form is that they will then continue in the MCU, because there's no way that the current form is final form. Like, I believe that we will get, by the end of this series, I'm throwing it out there, by the end of WandaVision, we will know who is playing adult or semi-adult, teenager, whatever final form of these guys, and where they're going in MCU.
I cannot get over you calling it final form. Like,
why wouldn't it? What? It's a great term. It makes sense.
Because it's like, are we in final form? It's like, what? No, like, it's constantly going to be changing, though.
Yeah, but I am no longer a child who doesn't look like me.
No. But as you get older into your final form, you still might change a little bit.
Girl, I have looked exactly the same since 12. I've been in final form. Mm-hmm. I'll show you pictures.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm glad the twins aged up, mostly because I think it means that we're closer to getting answers. Not necessarily because no, we don't have time for 10 years to pass by, not for real. So we needed something to age them rapidly in order to get where we're going. But the thing about it that is weird, and I've had conversations about, is why is Agnes around for the hyper growth of these twins? And so, everyone is kind of hypothesizing that she may be, Agatha. Thank you. I'm like, my A's are getting jumbled. That she might be Agatha, which I actually wholeheartedly think. Other people are actually saying, that's too easy. Marvel wouldn't do that. And I'm like, there's enough mysteries in here. Like,
that's
it is
too easy.
And it is a very easy route to go down. And Marvel generally is not that nice with, big reveals. Normally they're like layering them, and then you're like, oh, snap, that's not even who I thought it was. So I've also seen some theories that it might be Dottie instead, who kind of owns the town. And we also have not seen since that one episode that she was in. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, maybe, but I feel like it's Agnes. I feel like Agnes is Agatha. And especially because she's just around for these pivotal moments where the twins are like, boop, 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 boop.
Honestly, even if it is too obvious, I think that's fine, because everything else, I think, right. I think it's only too obvious if you are a comic reader. And I think that sometimes there are reveals that are made for the people who are just watching for the first time, and that it will blow their mind regardless.
Like, they will still be excited either way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that this is an easy win, that we should go in this direction. I think Dottie could be revealed to be someone else. Mm-hmm. And that feels a bit more intriguing to me, but I don't know. I feel like the dynamic that Agnes and Wanda currently have to me would most closely mirror that between Wanda and Agatha.
Agreed.
And so I think that that's just kind of the most natural path to go on. But obviously anything is possible, as we've seen at the end of this episode. And so, you know, I kind of am just like, whatever. I mean, if she's not, I'm not going to be mad. But what I do want is for them to start utilizing Catherine Hahn a bit more, because she is an incredible talent. And I just feel like we haven't even really scratched the surface of what she's capable of doing in this show. And I know they're smart enough to know to utilize Catherine Hahn. So
I wholeheartedly agree. I also think with someone like Catherine Hahn, who is so incredible, I hopefully would love her to continue beyond WandaVision, and move forward in the MCU. So like maybe this is just a taste, because we're about to get so much more, which I would love.
I would love it too. I have no high hopes in the MCU though. Like I feel like anyone could die. That's just the way I you know, so I'm going to savor whatever they give us of this moment. And not necessarily think she's going to progress. I would want that for sure, because I think let's utilize her. Let's utilize Randall as well, because he's uber talented, you know? So I'm like, there's a lot of different ways we could go, but we'll see. My biggest question right now is just, why is she always there when, you know, something major is happening with the twins? And then of course, to Vision's point, when he's like, she always comes with exactly what we need when we don't even ask her.
Right.
He's over it.
He also asks, where are the other children?
Where? Why are there only 2 kids here in this entire town? You know,
especially a town that made such a big deal of doing something for the children.
Like, right. Like what children? It's very like Children of the Corn-esque. It feels
yes.
like what's happening with these kids.
I think we got to get to the big reveal. I'm throwing up a spoiler alert just in case you, for whatever reason, haven't watched what's going on.
Well, first, we got to get to the point that Vision actually wakes up. Like, that's like a mini spoiler before. But the fact that he, you know, finally, that one, he wakes up, you know, the gentleman in his office, and then he's like, oh, crap, like, what is happening? And so through that interaction and all of the fear that he had, you know, something occurs. Vision finally is like, no, what's happening? Now, I will say that man was terrified, and he just kept saying, you have to stop her. But he didn't reference who her is. And it's not necessarily Wanda. So I don't necessarily think he's referring to Wanda. It could be someone else, but it could be the person who's in control. I mean, we know Wanda is controlling parts of this, but I don't think she's controlling all of it, especially not with the amount of grief that she has right now. And I feel like, you know, Wanda is headed down the path of becoming a villain for sure. Like, we know that also because they have confirmed that she will be the villain in, like, you know, kind of films moving forward. We get it. But I don't think it starts now. Like, I don't think she's hit that breaking point, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like, I think she's still kind of on the cusp.
I agree. I think there's definitely someone else at play. I think we'll have to wait and see who specifically, but I'm pretty sure we've named 2 people that are likely, if not both, involved. But I agree. I think that the waking up is interesting. I think the idea that Wanda is, I feel like she's also not yet awake, even though sometimes she seems awake. And I wonder, especially when they're fighting and she says, like, you've never been like this. I was like, big hint right there. This ain't him.
And you haven't either. And then also she rolled the credits on him. She was like, okay, like this episode is over. Like, girl, no, it's not though. That's why he got so bad. And then they're like, oh, wait a minute, it's coming to a head. But even in the middle of the fight, and that's also what leads me. So throw up that spoiler, the alert sign now. Cause I'm like, that's another reason that leads me to believe that she's not fully, I mean, I do think she is partially responsible.
Right.
But fully responsible, because they are in the middle of a fight and Peter shows up. But not the one I wanted.
Oh, it's the one I wanted.
The recast version is back from X-Men. And even she seems surprised. And it's the look on her face that lets you know that she's not in control. And she has been saying, because she even said it about the kids, she said, what do you think I do all of this? You know? And it's like, oh, you know, he asked about the kids and she was like, why would you think that I did that? Like, what are you saying? And then Peter, aka Pietro, but Peter, because this is the X-Men version, he pops up and she's like, so someone else is doing something.
Yeah, no, I think the show wants us to think that she is doing all of this, and there's reasons that she's in charge, but she's not. There's someone else. I think she did part of it, and I think someone else is controlling more of it. I will say I read and heard some theories online that I thought were very interesting about the breakout that we have of her breaking in to get Vision's body, and that perhaps it was not a break-in, but a breakout, and that she was being held captive there as well. And lots of interesting theories coming in as to who the suit really might be.
I definitely 1000% do not think that was her in that footage. So one thing is, you know, that Sword manipulates footage all the time. 2, we literally cannot trust him. Like, you know, he was the only choice, you know, when Monica disappeared in the blip and then comes back. And, you know, of course, her mother had, Maria had already died. So, you know, they're like, oh, let's hire him. And it's like, I don't trust him. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him, to be honest. Like, I don't trust him at all. So that footage, we didn't see her face. You know, there's a lot of things. And the way he was just so eager to call her a terrorist and to just, you know, Monica's like, yeah, what are you on? You know, what's happening here? And I'm like, yeah, I don't trust him. Not even close. And I definitely don't think that was her in the footage.
Oh, I that's also an interesting theory. The theory that I read was that both she and Vision were being
like
held. No, they were being held and being experimented on to be turned into weapons. And so she went to break him out rather than to break in to get his body. She broke them out.
Oh, I mean, all possible. You know, there are tons of Hydra ads that are being, you know, siphoned through every single episode. I definitely think that's intentional. You know, I definitely think that Hydra, Sword, Shield, none of them learn their lessons when it comes to, you know, kind of robotic studies and experimentation on humans. They think that it's fine and it'll work out. And this time it's for science. And, you know, it always goes left. So, like, honestly, anything is possible. Yes.
All right. I think I know where we're going to go on this one, but rating this episode here on Super Lady Hero Hour, we rate everything from poop to kittens. So where are you rating this episode, KB?
Yeah, I'm going to go with kitten for sure. You know, I enjoyed this episode a lot. Looking forward to this week's episode, which I will remind myself to watch and mute on Twitter. How about you? Where are you going with this episode?
I'm obviously also going with a kitten, 100%. Yeah, second favorite episode in a row. I'm putting 4 and 5 together as an episode. I love them both.
Right.
Any predictions for next week before we move on?
You know, I don't have any predictions for next week. I think that they'll just continue to expand this story in this space. I do wonder if we're going to get kind of another decade of sitcoms. I do wonder if we're even just going to pick up right where we left off. You know, I think they have the potential to do something wild, which is jump in time if they chose to. So it will be curious if, you know, Pietro is still, or Peter, I'm still going to call him Pietro. And also, I really do not like this casting because I feel like personally, totally nothing against Evan Peters. I just don't think that, you know, Aaron Taylor Johnson got enough screen time. Like, I just think he died too quickly in the MCU. So I would want him back. But it's going to be interesting to see if, you know, like the next scene is him like, let me meet the boys, or if it's like something significant, you know, happens and we switch gears.
Right.
So
I predict that we start with a new morning, a new decade, and Peter is just living with them now. So like we're now hitting 90s, right? So it would be
so
like
we already touched on 90s. So that's the thing. Last episode touched on the 80s and the 90s, which I liked that they did that. And I mean, that made sense also because the twins aged up 10 years. So it like started off with the 80s, and by the time, you know, they ended up being in the 90s. So I don't know. We might be in early 2000 sitcoms at this point.
I feel like we're still gonna be in like mid 90s, especially if the boys aren't gonna age again. So if we start with like Full House, which had 3 adults, you know, with the kids, that might be an interesting way to do it, with Peter living there being the Uncle Jesse. So yeah, that's gonna be my prediction for next week's episode of WandaVision. But let's move on to Black Lightning. That's right. The quick cap is the book for the episode, The Book of Reconstruction, Chapter 1. Jefferson is still mourning the death of his longtime friend, Detective Henderson. Gamby is presented with an interesting opportunity. Lynn and Jefferson continue to clash. What did you think of this episode, KB?
Yeah, I thought the episode was really good. It was really strong. You know, it's interesting to see Jefferson kind of go off the rails again, but you know, I understand. I mean, it's similar to WandaVision. It's grief, right? Like he's having a really hard time dealing with Henderson's death. Actually, still don't know why we had to kill Detective Henderson. There's a lot of shade in this episode that basically says everyone feels the same way. Why is Henderson dead? Type deal. But yeah, you know, he's dealing with his grief in his own way, and his way is destructive. And, you know, we also see that Lynn is dealing with science in her own way, also destructive, as she always is. And then the girls, well, they're also being kind of reckless, too. I mean, I feel like everyone is just kind of doing whatever they want to do. Jennifer's also, for sure, just flying in the atmosphere and just, you know, letting herself fall. I just think everyone is dealing how they know, dealing as best as they know how, and it's not necessarily in the healthiest of ways. So quite frankly, it mostly mirrors this pandemic, and like maybe that's what they were going for, as we all are just trying to navigate this kind of setting as best as we know how, and it may not always be positive or in healthy ways. So how did you feel about this episode overall?
So I have really struggled with this show overall, from beginning to end. I really struggle with it, but this episode specifically made me go, okay, we are looking at this series as one big story, as opposed to other shows where you've got, you know, we've talked about how The Flash will have a bad guy of the week and then an overarching season-long bad guy or half-season bad guy. And that is something that I personally prefer and enjoy. But if you look at Black Lightning as season 1 to season 4, it is one whole story, specifically because Tobias Whale never, we can't get rid of him. I mean, Lala, we can't get rid of either. Like, it's just the same story continuing on. And that, if you accept that, makes this episode great, because it like sets us up for the final showdown. It gets us ready for that, right? This entire family is kind of destroyed emotionally. They're all going through so much and they're all lashing out. And at some point they're going to need to, you know, reunite to be strong, to take down Tobias freaking Whale.
Because Tobias is back, baby. Tobias is like, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that this sounds awful, because also, you know, Krondon is like one of the nicest people on earth. Truly, like, he's the only person that has made me cry during an interview, but he is so kind. But I hope they kill him, because I'm like, I don't have, like, what is the final showdown if he's just going to survive? Like, let's, you know, just I just got to go.
I agree. I think that his inability to die is very upsetting. And now, like, the way that he reacts to Lynn and the way he talks about her is so uncomfortable.
It's so creepy. It's so creepy. Like, I mean, honestly, I was like cringing, but I will say that is a testament to his acting and this character because he doesn't say much. Or I mean, it's really 2 sentences. And I was like, girl, you better watch out. Like, it was just terrifying. I was like, oh gosh, he's probably going to try to kill you first. Like this, like you're number 1 on his list. So I just, yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see kind of how these kind of newer threats, because, you know, they always introduce kind of smaller gangs and newer threats and like overlying like drug problems and like just a lot of different things into these like consistent big bads. So I am curious to see kind of where that'll go this season. But I'm just mad that Anissa was the only one who was like, so are we going to kill him? Like, no, like it took her saying that. Then finally Lynn was like, okay, I agree. But I was like, how is she the only one even thinking about this right now?
That's what I think bugs me the most, is that it's been 4 seasons of different people being like, we should kill him. He should be dead. We should kill him. And he's still alive.
And Jefferson's like, if anyone kills him, it's me. Well, why didn't you kill him 4 years ago, Jeff? Like, I mean, I get that you have a vendetta, but like, honestly, you've had multiple opportunities, but you've chosen not to because you didn't want that blood on your hands. But I really like that Anissa said, yeah, so technically everyone else here has killed. So like, you could just go ahead and on board.
Also, like, we're all on the same page that he's terrible. So let's team up and do it. Yeah.
Because he's not just like terrible to your family. He's actually terrible to the Friedland community, though. Like, so, I mean, it's like, it's not just like, oh, I have a personal thing against him for what he did with my family. It's like, he's actually detrimental to society.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, guys. Maybe we should reconsider. But yes, so I'm just trying to figure out, you know, like, I have no idea where this season is going to go. I can say that wholeheartedly. I watched this episode and I thought, no idea where this is going. Also, they did not give a preview for the second episode, so I definitely don't know where this is going. So if you know, then tell me. But I literally have no clue. So I'm just going to be watching this, to your point, kind of like I've watched every other season, which is just on the ride with my hands in the air and, you know, kind of nothing else.
You know, sometimes you need a show that you watch like that, because something like WandaVision where you're like, ooh, I think I know what this means.
Right. And then you definitely don't, because they turn a corner and you're like, wow, I know nothing. And so, you know, instead of that, I can just have the surprise element of just knowing that I don't know and just watching it knowing I don't know. So beauty.
And where would you rate this episode from poop to kittens?
Yeah, so for me, actually, this is going to be a kitten because I do think it's a strong opener for the final season. I don't know. You know, I do think there is a lot that happens in the sense that I love that Jefferson and Lynn are in therapy trying to figure out, you know, how to make it better. And even though they have literally no resolve and things are not better, I like that they are kind of taking that initiative. What I hope to see is Lynn trusting Jeff more with her secrets. You know, I think that's part of the problem that caused this kind of rift between them anyway, was, you know, Lynn's constantly lying. Like, nobody talks about how much Lynn lies. She lies all the time. And those secrets are really tearing them apart. And so she's got to start to like let Jeff in, because you can't preach like we need unity as a family. And girl, you don't talk to him about 98% of the things that you're doing in the dark.
Right. No, I totally agree.
So hope to see that. So how are you going to rate this episode?
I am also going to give it a kitten. I agree. This is a very solid beginning of a season. It is also feels like a solid way to start. Like, this is the end. We're wrapping it up. We know where we're going. We have a trajectory and we're on that path. So I really enjoyed that. I always feel like if you know you're going to end, then you've got a chance to wrap things up and to finish things. And if you do not utilize, then that's poor storytelling. So I'm excited.
all we can do is hope that they are utilizing it well. We clearly won't know until the end, but I hope so as well. So I gave a little bit of my predictions, which is mostly just that Lynn stops lying. Do you have any predictions for the overall season of where you think it'll go, or even just next episode, which we, again, don't know?
Yeah, I think my prediction for the season is, because right now the family is splintered, my prediction is that they will realize that they are better together. And if Lynn's going to keep using using powers and doing whatever, fine. But like, let's unify. Let's become a team. Let's become the weather team, and go, because that's who they are: lightning and thunder, weather. It was a joke. Anyway. You didn't acknowledge it, so I felt like it was a bad joke.
I don't feel 100%, so my mind is moving, a little bit slower than normally.
It's fine. It was a brilliant joke. Moving on.
Oh, yes, moving on. So our performer of the week. Oh my goodness. There are a lot of good things this week. So Yael, who are you choosing for as performer of the week?
I didn't come prepared, but I'm going to go with Nafisa Williams as Anissa. I think that she has always been the strongest of this family. I always feel like she has to carry the burden and be the adult, and I think that she did it fantastically well this episode, where she is grieving and worried about her loved ones while also worried about the world, while also like being mad. And I think that her balance was perfect, and she really like took a lead here.
Yeah. I actually picked Anissa, aka Nafisa, but mostly because I think the strength that she shows while being by Grace's side and trying to, navigate that, the strength that she shows in being a big sister and obviously being concerned about Jennifer 24/7 and how reckless that she's being, even with these powers. I think also standing up to your parents is never easy, but her really going toe to toe with Jefferson about Tobias Whale and making him even consider murder at this point is something, that he, I'm sure, has thought about a million times. But it's different when it comes from your daughter, who is truly like, Dad, I understand your position, but do you not see what's happening here? You need to change your mind. And I think, her being able to stand up to him in that way sends him down a spiral of a little bit. But I think it's something that's necessary. And so, she has always been very vocal about things, but in some ways she kept things to herself just to kind of preserve her relationship with her parents. And it's good to see her creating certain boundaries that work for her now, and just, being as open and transparent and vocal about, the things that she once was a little bit hesitant out of respect for them. Now she's like, y'all, I'm grown, and let me tell y'all, this is the wrong choice. So I appreciate that. I appreciate it for sure.
Let's move it to style icon of the week. I'll start. I honestly previously said it was Monica's outfit in the 70s outfit, which now the pants are bulletproof. And so the pants themselves are winning icon of the week for me, because not only are they adorable with the fish pattern, but now they're bulletproof. So that's where my icon of the week goes to. What about you?
So my icon of the week is actually going to go to Catherine Hahn. I think Agnes's choices this episode were really cute in the 80s/90s. I adored her attire. It kind of changed throughout as we saw her, but I think it was classic sitcom attire, but it was like, I don't know, I liked it. I thought it was fun. And I also liked her hair in this one too, to go along with the nod to the 80s and the 90s. So I'm gonna go with Catherine Hahn. That's who I'm going with.
That was my second
yes pick. I mean, because I miss the era sometimes, and when I miss it, I'll just turn on old sitcoms while I kind of reminisce. But so on to the WTF moment of the week. I feel like I know what you're gonna pick, only because you're a huge X-Men fan, which here we are. But please tell us what that moment was.
It was when Peter, aka Quicksilver, showed up. The thing is, I believe what's her face, Lizzie Olsen, was Elizabeth Olsen was she teased it. She was like, "Oh, there's a big cameo and it's not someone from the MCU." And I think that anyone who like thought about it put it together so fast. And I didn't think about it at all. I was like, "Oh, that's weird. What a weird thing to tease." And then it happened and I was like, "It's perfect. It's just perfect." So that was my WTF moment because I was caught by surprise. What about you?
What? I will say, I don't think that that's the one that she's referring to.
Oh.
So I think that there are more cameos in store that are not necessarily people who have been in the MCU. And I think now that we have opened the X-Men door, I don't necessarily think we're going to close it anytime soon. And there is a reference that Monica makes about an astrophysicist.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think it's Reed Richard. And I think we might, and I don't know if it's going to be a Reed that we've seen before or a new Reed, you know, who knows. But I think that's possible. You know, in this episode, we got a scene that's very similar to one that, you know, Magneto did in an X-Men film.
Mm-hmm.
She's mirroring her father in a lot of ways. So I'm like, I don't know necessarily that was the one, you know, the end all be all. Right.
Interesting.
Right. I think that we could be in store for a few more, you know, kind of surprises. Sure. And I will say I was probably one of the very first ones to say I didn't think we would get X-Men crossovers this soon at all. Like I honestly probably thought we wouldn't get them till next year, to be honest.
Right.
But who knows? Who knows what happened? Maybe Kevin changed his mind because things changed, pandemic, you know, maybe, I don't know. Or maybe this was always part of the master plan. Who knows? I don't know. Like maybe the master plan was always to introduce them in WandaVision. Mm-hmm. But of course, it wouldn't have been this soon because it was like a little further back this year. Right. But I don't know. But my WTF moment, you know, I was shocked to see Quicksilver. I was. I think I was more shocked that it wasn't the one that I wanted. So I think more than anything, I was like, oh no. Okay. Your
WTF was there was Evan Peters.
Yes, exactly. Like I was like, cool. You know, I'm looking at the hair and I'm like, oh yay. And then, you know, it turns around and I was like,
Run.
This is not what I wanted. So yeah, maybe that's probably, you know, my WTF moment. And actually my second one really goes to Tobias still being alive, honestly, because when he popped up on the screen, I was really like, what? I just was kind of like, this isn't done yet. Like I truly just was like, oh, well, darn it. You know?
Yeah. I think my second one is that now I have an explanation as to why she didn't name one of the kids Peter. Something I bitched about. I bitched about it so much.
This is what you wanted. You were
and
like,
now we know why they can't.
Honor your brother.
Right.
Like, you know. So, yep.
Awesome. Well, that's about it for this episode of Super Lady Hero Hour. We are on our new night and time. That's right. We are every Wednesday at 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern. I'm pretty sure that is the time that it is for Eastern people. Thank you for joining us live. Make sure you have subscribed and liked this video. KB, where can everyone keep up with you and what are you up to these days?
Yes, please just follow me, you know, Twitter, Instagram at the Lady KB. That's TheLadyKayb. If you would like to catch up on the latest episode of the Color Grade podcast, you can listen on all of your podcast platforms. This week, I am joined by the hosts of the Scream Queen podcast, part of our Domino Sound family. And we are chatting about the film Run that is available on Hulu, starring Sarah Paulson. So yes, check that out. And, you know, just stay tuned to Twitter and Instagram. I post interviews that I'm doing. I will say that, you know, tomorrow I do have an interview around the brand new film that comes out on Friday, Judas and the Black Messiah. So I got to chat with a couple of the actors that played the Black Panthers in that. And Friday, I have an interview with Noah Centineo about the final film in the franchise that I adore. I am truly like the biggest fan. Honestly, if you ask the Netflix publicist, they are like, girl, it's you because you are obsessed. I am. And my final interview is there. And right now you can read my other interviews on Nerdophiles with some of the rest of the cast and the author of the book series. So yeah. So Yael, what are you up to this week and where can everyone find you? And did we already play Twitch?
We already did. I'm everywhere at Yael Teagle. That's right here. YAELTYGIEL. If you would like to see me ask for help and then ignore it while playing World of Warcraft, that's over at twitch.tv/YaelTeagle. Also on Sundays, I host Law and Order S Review, the SVU After Show. You can check that out here on Fanversation. And this week we have a surprise guest joining us as we talk about an old episode, season 5, episode 17, Mean. Someone from that episode will be joining us. So check that out. And we will see you next week on Wednesday for more here on Fanversation. Bye.
Bye.